Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is The Surge Effect, and I'm your host, Mike Surge. This podcast will be talking about anything and everything, life in general to current events and past events, and all things about this beautiful and wonderful world that we live in. And this podcast, well, it'll probably have an effect on you. Hello again, and welcome to another episode of The Surge Effect. It's been a couple of weeks since the last time I've posted anything, so I've just been kind of laying low, watching the news, checking things out. A lot of stuff has happened in the news cycle over the last while. Today we're just going to talk a little bit about Trudeau's hypocrisy in Canada. It's quite something, some of the things that Trudeau's doing to this country. And one of the things we're going to just talk about is the fertilizer. So Trudeau is going to follow his fellow members, basically, of the WEF from the Netherlands, his alumni, and he's going to tell farmers that they have to reduce fertilizer by 30%, starting in the Netherlands, of course, and now here in Canada. It's crazy how this stuff kind of spreads from country to country because they all go to meetings and they all have these ideas and they put them on their citizens of their country. Anyway, it started in the Netherlands and now it's moving to Canada, and they'll probably be doing the same thing in the States, I'm sure. It's just a matter of time because they're all playing basically, like I said, from this ultimate playbook. They're all in cahoots. Anyway, if you just think for a minute and ask yourself a question that the average citizen of the countries that we live in, and what this would mean if you cut 30%, if the farmers had to cut 30% of their farming capabilities, that means they'd be producing less and they would be charging you more. So you're going to have an increase, obviously, of food prices. So you're going to have less of it and pay more for it. That's basically what it'll do. So it's going to increase the price of food, and we would have a lot less of it. So does this make the citizens of the Netherlands happy, or does it make Canada happy? Of course not. Here's a clip of the Canadians outside the Netherlands embassy consulate in support of their fellow farmers in the Netherlands. Check it out. Yeah, you know.
23rd of July, in front of the Netherlands consulate, freedom-loving Canadians show their unity and their solidarity with Dutch farmers.
It's nice to see the Canadians support the Dutch farmers for sure. Freedom-loving Canadians supporting the farmers on Parliament Hill. Here's another little clip. Check this one out. Nice to see. It's really nice to see Canadians standing up for freedom and standing up for people in other countries that are basically, being oppressed with these types of things, especially, carbon tax and now, of course, the fertilizer and stopping the abilities of the farmers to actually do their job, which is, it's just a terrible situation that we're all in. Anyway, first off, this government pulls out all the stops, and the government of Canada, of course, pull out all the stops, and they pull out the Emergency Act because they didn't want to speak to the truckers about any mandates in regards to what was going on here in Canada. And then they attacked our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and to now the carbon tax. They're assaulting the pockets of all Canadians with the carbon tax. and it's just relentless, to now they're attacking our food, of course, the food chain. It's just like it goes from one thing to another. It goes from, like I just described, right? It goes from the truckers and the mandates and the carbon tax, and our fuel prices go up, housing for heat our houses go up, and now you have the fertilizer being reduced, which in turn, like I said, will put the price of food up. So does this seem to you like this government is looking out for our best interests? I've said this before in different podcasts, that they always seem to stand up in our house and say that they're doing what's best for Canadians. Well, basically this government is just from one tack to another, and they're assaulting the Canadians with these different taxes, and without any disregard, and how it will affect each and every one of us. They always say they have our best interest at heart, like I said, but it never seems to be that way. How can you have someone's best interest at heart when they're attacking us with these just steady taxation? We just came through like a pandemic for the last couple of years. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people are out of work, and now, of course, that's subsiding, and then we get hit with all these extras. Anyway, when the governments talk about having the citizens' best interest in heart all the time, it just makes my skin crawl, because if this is the best that this government can do to make our lives better, I would hate to see what the worst would be, because this stuff is just off the chain. These taxes on carbon and all these extra levies, they're having a huge effect on the low income families. That's basically what Trudeau's this carbon tax is. It's hurting the lower class and the middle class, of course, with these taxes. But the hypocrisy in this government, this hypocrisy in this chief cook and bottle washer, it cascades down. His rules to the serfs, right? He puts all these rules onto us peasants, and we're supposed to do everything that he does, but then he doesn't do it himself. He doesn't follow the same rules, and he does this time and time again, telling Canadians that we can't be unmasked while we're on a plane or a train. And this is here yet the amazing hypocrisy at work. So here he is on a train without a mask, taking pictures with citizens. So check out this video.
Great to see you. Great to see you guys. Of course.
Once again, rules for me, but not for thee. Kings put out rules for the servants to follow, but the rules don't apply to the kings. I think true leaders should lead by example. And if the leaders are going to tell their subordinates to follow me, then they should lead the charge. Now, not this guy. He creates the rules and he expects others to follow him, but not him. That, in effect, is hypocrisy right there. So there's a little still shot, of course, of the video that I just showed you. You would think that was one of the, maybe he didn't realize what he was doing. Maybe he's like, oh, that was a one-off, and he jumped on the train and took some pictures, and he thought, oh, I didn't realize I didn't have my mask on. But you'd be wrong, because here's Trudeau and his whole family. They're departing a plane when they went on a vacation in Costa Rica without any of their masks. They're greeting the people on the tarmac. Take a look at this one. Wasn't that something? All Canadians, we cannot travel on airplanes or trains without having masks on. But there you have it. So here's a little tweet from Melissa Lanceman. She's an Ontario MP here. And this is to say about just what she said on Twitter. She just tweeted this out. And of course, Pierre Poilievre had something to say on Twitter as well. So here's what Melissa Lanceman had to say. Rules for thee, but not rule for me. End the theater for Canadians. Next is Pierre Poilievre's tweet, and he said, unmasked hypocrisy. Trudeau demands you still wear a mask on planes and trains, but on his private jet at a Costa Rican vacation, the masks come off. Rules for thee, but not for me. Interesting how all these people are saying the same thing in regards to hypocrisy. These leaders, they put things out, but these rules out and regulations, but they don't follow them themselves. So with Trudeau and his family taking off for Costa Rica on a big old jet, after flying all over Canada, he tells Canadians that we have to pay more for our carbon tax, and we have to pay more at the pumps, and we have to pay more for our food. This guy flew 26,000 kilometers in the month of July alone. Now, that's a fact. Then after that, him and his family flew to Costa Rica for a vacation. This guy is so far removed from the common people, it's pathetic. He doesn't have a clue what it's like to be just a common folk, working every day, trying to pay your bills, trying to get by, trying to raise a family. And he's just, like I said, he's just doing his thing. Anyway, Trudeau is he's used more fuel in the month of July than the whole trucker convoy from Regina to Ottawa used. Let that sink in for a minute, right? He's got the nerve to talk about Canadians, and we're trying to heat our homes. We're trying to obviously use our vehicles to go to work so we can pay our taxes. And here's more taxes being heaped upon us. The hypocrisy is just palpable. It's just unbelievable. That's the footprint he leaves, and he tells us that we have to pay in carbon tax. So here's just a little something in regards to about climate change, something that you can check out yourself online. You can go on the internet, check it out yourself. Do your own research. Don't believe everything that comes out of my mouth. But the climate change, in my opinion, it's cyclical. And it has happened before, and it will happen again. Keep in mind that the people of this planet have been bombarded with fear in regards to our land masses being submerged underwater. If the ice in the southern region or in the North Pole were to start to melt. Because according to Al Gore and his Inconvenient Truth documentary back in 2006, he said within 5 to 6 years that New York, parts of Florida, parts of New York, of course, parts of Florida, and parts of the India coast regions would be underwater. So I asked myself this question. If coastal regions are going to be put underwater, why would Barack Obama purchase $1 million home in Martha's Vineyard, and along with Al Gore purchased a multi-million-dollar home as well on the coastline? Just curious. Makes you kind of wonder. If it was so terrible, why would they purchase these, $15, $14 million homes on the coastline? I look at something else that I found online a while back, and there's also another reason for the Earth to be warming. Now, most people don't know this, but it's a slow process over thousands of years, and it's a little process called the Milankovitch cycle. So if you look online, look under, go to wherever, use whatever browser, Brave, and look under the Milankovitch cycle. And basically what it is, it's small variations of how the Earth goes around the sun and how it changes its tilt on its axis, and it kind of wobbles away from the sun as it's going around. Here's a little short video just to kind of explain a little bit better in regards to it. Have a look at this. So now I'm not sure that mankind isn't, mankind's not doing the planet any favors, obviously, from burning fossil fuels. But let's not just blame everything on that one thing. All right. There's, like I said, we've been bombarded with so much fear over time that everyone's just so used to it. It's like, oh, man's doing it. And now, like I said, I'm not saying that, we're not doing the planet any favors, because we're not. But don't just blame everything on that one single thing. I also believe that taxing citizens around this world, it's not going to stop global warming from happening, right? So you can tax everyone all you want. You can take away 90% of all our wages and put it towards taxation. It is literally will not do anything towards global warming. Keep this in mind, that tens of thousands of years ago, most of North America was under miles of crushing ice. And over time, it receded because of the Milankovitch cycles. It did recede, it started to melt, and the land bridges that were where the Bering Strait is now, and the land bridges that were over by England, now they've, of course, filled in with water, so that the people that trekked across those land bridges to get to those other continents, they could no longer do that because they filled with water, because they melted. So that was no longer possible for them to cross those straits, unless, of course, they were using boats. Anyway, that's just a little something for yourself to ponder in regards to that. Now, speaking of hypocrisy and hypocrites, I just wanted to add one more thing before I sign off here. This just happened yesterday in regards to our friends in the States. The FBI had raided Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence. About 30 FBI agents had raided his home. Now, the FBI, as far as I'm concerned, it looks like they have been politicized from the party down there that doesn't think too much about Trump. But the hypocrisy that I'm talking about is the stuff that's staring them right in the face, but the FBI never did anything about it, and that was the Hunter Biden laptop that I've talked about in podcasts gone by, as well as Hillary Clinton, all her emails, her bleaching the hard drives that she had with all the information that she had. So these are crimes in themselves, but nothing is done. Once again, the hypocrisy. These people that are called so-called leaders, they need to step up and lead, not do what they're doing. I think it's a travesty. Whether you like Trump or whether you hate him, that's not the point. The point is they have other people in political areas, but they have not touched those people, and they literally have them cold, stone cold, with criminal acts, with criminal activity, and nothing has been done. That's my point. Now, whatever happens with Trump, happens with Trump, but this has never happened in the history of the United States of America. I think it's a travesty of justice. That's just my personal opinion. You might have yours, and that's all fine, because that's what makes the world go round, and I've said that before in other podcasts. But anyway, that's what I have to say about hypocrisy, not only in Canada, but in the States. Anyway, thanks a lot for listening to today's podcast. I'm going to call it a day. Thanks again for checking out this podcast. If you'd like to drop me a line, like I've always said, you can always drop me a line. Feel free to send me anything in regards to other stuff that I talk about. I'm sure that's controversial to some people. You can drop me a line at podcast@thesurgeeffect.ca. You can also find my videos on Rumble, and it's The Surge Effect. And I'm available on Spotify, Apple, Android, any of the other apps that you want to listen to a podcast on. I'm on Instagram as well as Twitter. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit that little bell. It just kind of pushes things up in the algorithm, and it helps me out a lot, and I appreciate it. Anyway, thanks again, and until next time, everybody, cheers. This episode sponsored by He Shirts, She Shirts. Go to www.heshirtssheshirts.ca. Just type in the letters TSA, The Surge Effect. When you check out, type in TSA for your coupon and receive 10% off your next purchase. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, everybody.